Hello everyone, you're welcome to another video in the series on handling numbers with Python. Today we'll be talking about random numbers and the way they often behave. I'll show us just a few examples and then we can build on this depending on the reality that we may be facing. Let's go to the most basic form of generating random numbers. If you go to a file I have called random.py, and here this is another way of importing intelligence. Here I'm saying import random as R because I don't want to be typing random many times. But let me take it back to the basic form and say import random. You start from there. Now I want to generate numbers between 0, 0.0 and 0. Sorry, 0 0.99999. But let's say between 0, 0.0 and 1. But 1 exactly isn't part of this. So how do I go about doing that? I hope that is completely true. I am supposed to come in here and say random, which is this first one, dot random, like this. This will generate some 0 0.00 this, 0 point that, 0 point this, but it will never be greater than 1. Yeah, I think I'm very certain about this. And it will keep the result in this variable and it will display the result to us here. If we run this, we should get our result. Wow. Okay, the message here says import random blah 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 line 4. It doesn't module object is not callable. Okay, what do you think the problem could be here? Okay, from experience, I know that I made a fundamental error in the way I named my file. I used the name of the model in naming the file, and that's probably why it's yelling at me here. So I can simply just right click and say rename, put x random. I'll do the same for all other lines here, all other files, x uniform. Right click, go back here and say x triangular. Right click this, change the name to x sample. Right click, change the name to x rand range. Right click, change the name to x rand int. I think we have two more. X choices. Right click, change the name to choice. Yeah. All right, having done that, if I try to clear the screen, terminal, and I go back to this code and I run it, then I'm fine. So avoid naming your Python file with some keywords that are reserved in many of the packages that you are dealing with or the modules that you are dealing with. So in this case, it has generated a random number for me. It is between 0 and 1, and then I have 0 0.8582. If I run it again, it will generate another number. It will not keep generating the same number. It's a random set of numbers. So it will keep generating different unique number at every instance when you run it. So you may want to think about an advanced variant of this, which we'll see next when you are writing a game. Say you want someone to guess a number between one figure and another figure, and then the computer produces another figure, and then you can check if what the person guessed matches what the computer produces, and if there is a match, then the person wins, otherwise the computer wins. So let's say we set a limit here and say 1 and 20, because your random only gives you 0 to 1, but you may want some random numbers across a larger set. This time around, I want to generate any old number between 1 and 20. Just make a guess. It's like I'm asking you guess a number between 1 and 20. You will struggle to see what the computer is going to bring up. But if that's what you want, we can come in here and say random dot rand range. Okay, and then the range here is going to be where do you want us to start from. We'll say X, we need you to stop at Y. I guess if you run this, it says 13. If you run it again, it says 16. You run it again, it says 13. You run it again, 15. So it will keep randomly generating numbers for you. If you had done rand int, what does this do for you? When you mouse over it, it says I can generate a random integer for you in the range AB, including both points. Now, the rand range, what does it do? It does the same thing, but the two endpoints are not completely part of it. The first point is there, which is X, but this one isn't part of it. So you need to be very careful when you are using rand range and rand int. It depends on what you want. So you can generate random numbers in that way. Now, let's say, for instance, you are given a number or two numbers like say 20 and 60, and you are told to give a number that is going to be uniform within that range. It will be x, y. If you do this, it will generate a number that takes into consideration 20 and 60 inclusive, and it will give you a number that is almost midway between 20 and 60. If I run this, it comes to like 41.7, almost midpoint between. It's a random number that you're generating, and you're saying it should be uniformly distributed between those two extremes that you have indicated here. I don't know why anybody would want to do this, but that's the way that method works. How about if you go triangular? This takes three variables. Let's say we do 20, we do 60, and we do 30. Here you are trying to generate numbers. It's going to be a single number anyway, but the result will be closer to 20 than it is to 60. To give you a single number, but you expect the results to be closer to 20 than it is to 60. How do you go about doing this? This will be random dot triangular, and then we supply those three numbers here. When I look at this, a part of me keeps asking, why do we need a third parameter if it's actually not doing so much in determining the result? If anybody knows the answer, please put it in the, am I showing the correct one? I don't think so. Oh, wow. In fact, my result is closer to 50 than it is to 20 as I postulated earlier. I need to check that out and then give you what the issue is. All right, we move on. If I go to choice, it's not in all situations that you'll be dealing with numbers. There are instances when you may need to deal with text-based entries. For instance, I've produced a list of fruits here. If there is a need for you to make a random choice of a fruit, how do you go about doing that? We've made some random choices of numbers. Can we do the same thing for text? Yes, it's possible. What you do is to say random and say choice from what? From this list. And if we execute this code, it makes a choice of guava the first time. If you run it again, it chooses banana. You run it again, it's choosing orange. Now apple. It's been fair to all of them. Now it's choosing orange again. So it will always pick one at a time. That's when you do choice. If you want to pick more than one item at a time, then you have to use choices. And that's where you come in and say random dot choices, and then you pass in your object. In this case, it's my fruit. So my fruit is selected. Then I need to go in there and say, I pass two or three more elements. First, I want to pass in the weight. And I'll tell you what I mean by weight here. So I'm saying pass in the weight of 10 to 2. And then the last element should be K. And I want 6. Now, this is going to sound a little bit funny. In fact, let me change it to 8. This is going to be a bit weird. We don't have up to 8 elements in our list. So why would you want 8 items? I said, okay, just hold on a second. I want 8 items to be displayed to me from this list because it will randomly pick them. It's going to keep the elements in these results and display it to me. But while it is making those 8 selections, it should give more weight to a particular item than the others. So I have how many items here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I can say more of 7. Maybe I can actually go even number. 8, 6, 4, and I'd say 2. So what I'm saying here is give more preference to apple when you are selecting. The next preference should be to orange. The next preference should be to guava. The next preference should be to grape. And then banana is the least favored to be chosen. But I want 8 items out randomly from this list. When I run this code, it's going to give me 8 items. So you see grape, guava, grape, apple, banana, orange. So one would have expected lots of apple, but it's a random choice, and this is what you have displayed to you. So if there is a scenario where you may want to do this, maybe you are designing a simple text-based game, this is going to come in handy when you are making choices. What else is here? Sampling. It's also possible to sample when you have multiple items, and the way this one works is going to be similar to what we just saw here now. So say random dot, you are generating a sample from where our population is fruit. What other elements do you have to play around with? You have how many items you want to sample. K is equal to what? So I may want to sample 3 elements. So I'm saying give me 3 elements from this list, randomly generated. I need to clean my box here. I run this script and it randomly picked apple, orange, and guava. If we run it again, it gives us guava, orange, and grape. So we said sample 3 and it's bringing 3 out. If you reduce this to 2, then it will bring 2 elements out. If you increase it to 4, it will give you 4. But there is no point increasing it to 5 because that will mean the entire population of elements that you have in here. So these are simple ways in which you can work with random generated numbers or text. We showed ourselves how you can generate random numbers between 0 and 1. You have lots of decimals in there. We showed how you can do integer generation between one number and another with both extremes factored in. We showed how you can make a single choice from a list of items given to you using random.choice. We showed how you can make multiple choices. In fact, you can display more items than you have in your lists, and you need to just set the preference in terms of weight and how many items you want to see. If I can say I want 20 items, and it will still run for me. 20 items will be brought out and these weights will be impacted. Then lastly, we demonstrated how you can sample from a given population. There are many ideas that you can build on this. When we get into working with projects, most of these will become more meaningful to us. I look forward to seeing you then. If you find this video useful, like and subscribe, and let's have your comment. Thanks a lot. I see you in the next demonstration. Bye for now.